leaders. I'm your coach, Adam. Here to have an honest talk about leadership, the obstacles you might face, and how to refine your leadership skills to help you become the leader I know you are. So let's grab a drink, sit back, relax, and have a chat. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, we are going to be chatting about respect and the difference between personal respect versus positional respect. So without further ado, let's rock and roll, baby! So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about respect. So in this case, we're going to be talking about holding somebody to a high regard or a high esteem, or the quality of being just very esteemed, to be looked up to and to be trusted. And what's interesting about respect is respect kind of falls into two different categories. You have positional respect, and then you have personal respect. And though you might think that they kind of go hand in hand, they don't. One is earned and one is just given. And that's what many people fail to understand. So an example of this is positional respect. Positional respect is given to you. You inherit this respect, whether you like it or not, when you get a position. For example, when you get the position of a nurse, or when you become a nurse, when you go out into the medical field, you are given the respect of a nurse. People hold trust in you. They don't respect you personally. They respect the position and the title that you hold. And as such, individuals are more likely to open up to you and talk to you about what's going on because they respect your position, and they respect that because of the history of your position, you will do what's right for them. And when we look at a leadership context of this, if you move from a, for example, ground level employee into a management position, you will get the respect of that position, that management position, whatever that might look like. It's not that you or those individuals respect you, they just respect the position. And then if you were to move from that position up the ladder, you get different levels of positional respect up to, let's say, a CEO. So a CEO will have a very different level of professional respect than, for example, a frontline manager. And that's just kind of how we box things in our minds. And many individuals don't understand kind of the difference between this positional respect versus actual respect. And that's when they can lead themselves into a spot of trouble. So to kind of help illustrate this, I worked with a lovely woman, and her name was Amy. And Amy she was originally a ground floor worker, and she had been doing an amazing job for a number of years, to the point that management started looking at Amy and saying, "Hey, Amy, you're actually really good at what you're doing. We should promote you into a leadership role." Amy, very delighted by this, took the position and became one of the newest managers for this organization. The thing with Amy is Amy had just inherited positional respect. She was now a manager. Huzzah! Cue fireworks, hand waves, the whole shebang. The problem being is that Amy had just inherited a bunch of positional respect. The people that were working for Amy did not respect Amy in any way, shape, or form. They respected Amy's position. They respected the power that Amy now wielded. Amy could write these individuals up. Amy could do the hiring. She could do the firing. She was in charge of the reports or the performance reviews of these individuals now. And the people that were working for Amy understood this. And so they didn't respect Amy. They respected Amy's position. And Amy didn't know this. And so when she first came out, she started making these huge sweeping changes, these big decisions that she wanted to get done. And what was interesting is during the meetings, nobody was speaking up when Amy would announce a plan or a direction for her team to go in. And that's primarily because they didn't respect Amy, and for starters. And second of all, they didn't really know how she was going to shake up. And so nobody was really saying no to her and just kind of smiling and nodding. And if Amy asked her subordinates to kind of do a task or an item, they would just do it without any qualms, without raising a real fuss, because again, they understood Amy's power because, again, they respected the position. This was a bit problematic for Amy in the fact that Amy had not spent the time to build up her personal respect, because again, they respected the position, they didn't respect her. And she had a very top-down authoritative view of leadership, which was again very problematic because again, it's adding more positional respect, it's not adding more personal respect. And this started to come to a head when things stopped being good for Amy. This is the dreaded, more or less, second act of the play, where Amy was creating doing all these decisions and really putting all this pressure down on her subordinates. Well, her subordinates were not very happy with Amy, and in fact, were already starting to badmouth Amy behind Amy's back. There's a lot of gossip and a lot of disgruntled nature surrounding Amy. And the thing being is that when some of Amy's projects ended up failing, people above Amy started asking questions like, well, what happened? Why can't we do this? Why aren't things getting done? And of course, her subordinates, who had no personal respect for Amy, left Amy out to dry. And they said it was 100% her fault, which technically it 100% is her fault. It was not so good for Amy because, again, she ended up shouldering all the blame and all the burden for this. In reality, what Amy should have done is when she first came into this leadership position, she should have taken about a month to 2 months to learn about her employees, to learn from their experiences, to show that she was a good leader, and to show her own experiences and expertises and build up personal respect. And so let's get into what the hell is personal respect. Personal respect is when you respect the individual, not the title, not the position, nothing else. You actually respect who they are as a person. Personal respect is typically shown in leadership in that informal leadership role. These are leaders that aren't in a management role. They don't have a formal title, but people follow them. People listen to them. People ask them for their advice and their wisdom. And that's because they don't have positional respect. Nobody respects their position. They have personal respect. People respect them as a person and are willing to follow them come hell or high water into wherever it is that they're going. And when we talk about leadership, really, we might want to start off with positional respect, but we really want to start ending off in personal respect. We want to start building up that admiration, that high self-esteem people are going to have for us as individuals. And what you're going to notice is that as you spend the time building up your personal respect, is things are going to actually start changing. People will listen to you as opposed to in one ear, out the other. People will pay attention and want to know what you're saying. On top of that, people will look for guidance and counsel from you. They will see that you're somebody that is to be respected and as such deserving to be sought out for counsel. You're also going to start noticing that people are going to trust you. People will just accept what you say you're going to do and then just trust that it is in their best interest, as opposed to positional respect, where if you start taking an organization in a direction, people are going to assume that you're in it for their best interest, but ultimately they're going to be highly suspicious of you and kind of hyper analyzing what you're doing to determine, are you doing what's in my best interest or not? But with personal respect, they're not going to do that. They're just going to trust you. And that's huge. And then on top of that, people are also going to respect your words. And this is going to become very apparent when you're dealing with a conflict or a disagreement of any type, or a issue that is quite contentious. People will respect your words and be like, all right, so-and-so said something. I agree with what they said because ultimately I respect who they are, as opposed to that positional respect where if you try to mediate a disagreement or try to deal with a contentious issue, people will fundamentally disagree with what you've done because they don't respect you as an individual. They respect your position, and as a result, they might not openly disagree with your decision or your call, but privately, they will be very disgruntled about it, and they just won't have trust that you know what the hell you're doing. So to kind of come back to it, personal respect and taking time to build that up is absolutely huge. I know every single job that I have ever been on, my first job or task is actually to build up personal respect. I'm not going to go in there and start throwing my weight around, telling people what to do, and really changing processes. That would be very foolhardy at best, as, again, Amy kind of found out with that one. My job is to keep my head low and start proving myself to the people that I'm working with and start building up that personal respect. And once I get that personal respect up to a very specific level, then my job is to start really changing things and becoming a mover and shaker. And I know this is kind of counterproductive for a lot of leaders because a lot of leaders think, oh, I'm hired to get in here and fix the thing. And I got to fix the thing as soon as possible. It's like, no. Fixing the thing comes later. Personal respect comes first. You have to build this up. And so then how the hell do you build up personal respect? Well, I'll be honest with you, it's going to take a little bit of time and it's going to take a little bit of energy. But if you follow these kind of fundamental rules on how to build up respect, you're going to get it in no time. So first and foremost is stop throwing your education and your experience around. At the end of the day, nobody cares. The people that follow you don't care. The janitors don't care. Your friends and family don't care. Nobody cares. What we do care about is we care about you showing that you have this knowledge and experience. Don't tell us you have it. Show us that you have it. And how you're going to do that is by just experiencing or having interactions with the individuals that you're working with. During meetings, you're going to show off your insightful intellectual conversations that you're having to kind of spur dialogue to raise your organization from one level to the next. When you're handling a conflict or difficult situation, your experience in leadership and conflict management is going to show and shine, and people are going to be watching you during these interactions. And when they see that you're providing these thoughtful tangents or conversations, and then they see how you're handling, for example, possibly rough customers or difficult situations, and then when they see how you're bringing unity to the group, they're going to know that you are capable of being the leader that they need you to be. you're going to start building that respect, that personal respect. Because again, you're showing, you're not telling them. Again, we don't want to tell people that how amazing we are. We want to show them how amazing we are. And then the next part is we want to stop brushing people off. Our first job when we meet people is actually to listen to them. Leaders can be quite guilty of being a bit of a motor mouth. They gab on and on and on and on and on. They tend to believe that they know what's best when that is not true in any way, shape, or form. When in reality, what they should be doing is listening. They need to shut up and just listen to the people that are coming to talk to them. And simply by just listening to those individuals, what will happen is you're going to start building rapport. You're going to start creating a relationship between yourself and the people that came to talk to you. And you're going to get to know who they are, and they're going to get to know who you are. And ultimately, there's going to start building up this trust. The next point is you need to leave your hubris or your false bravado at the door. Go in very humble, especially to a new organization. And there's a very good reason for this. And that is because if you go in thinking you know it all, if you're the smartest person out there, that you're the sharpest tool in the woodshed, you may potentially put yourself in a very sticky situation. And that usually comes in the form of providing advice or creating a direction for an organization, or providing advice to a very specific individual without knowing all the facets and intricacies of what's going on. And what will happen at that point is by you providing that advice, providing that direction, they're going to accept it and they're going to go with it. But when it falls short, and generally it always does because you didn't know what the hell you were doing, the blame's going to fall squarely back on your shoulders. And so really by having bravado, by having all this hubris, by having all this pride, you are going to set yourself up for failure, which we absolutely don't want you to do. So again, let's just leave it at the door. Let's try to be as humble as possible when we go into the organization. And think of it as they have all the knowledge, they have all the experience. You're simply here just to learn from them and to understand how it works from them. And that actually leads us really well into our next point, which is that our job as leaders is not to know all the intricate details of our business or organization down to the letter. That is not our job. That has never been our job. And if you believe that you need to understand every detail and facet of the organization or business or whatever you're leading, I need you to take that and throw it in the garbage. Just throw it in the garbage right now. And instead, we need to be leaning on the expertise and wisdom of the people that we are working with. Please keep in mind that our job as a leader, one of our primary jobs is to understand that we need a thing done. And our job is not to do the thing. Our job is to find somebody who can do the thing and then help them do the thing that we need done really, really well. So we don't need to be able to do the thing. They need to do the thing. Our job is not to understand how this organization works down to the letter. Our job is to understand a broad overview of how things work and then have very talented individuals that we're working with do the very intricate, minute details to kind of propel our organization to the next level. So these are really some general rules and guidelines to help get you started, which is 1, leave your education at the door. Show us, don't tell. Listen to the people around you. They are the expert. And ultimately, we want to build rapport. We don't want to be giving advice. We don't want to be creating these huge organizational shifts and changes, not within our first week. Our job is more or less just to listen to the people that are around us and understand what's going on and to leave our pride at the door. And if you can start doing that, you're well on your way to building up that personal respect to take you from where you are now to the next level and to take your organization with you. So to kind of help illustrate all of this for you lovely folks, I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about my own work experience when I did not build personal respect. I actually built the opposite, which was disrespect. And so I was transferring jobs. The first job that I had or was working at, I was essentially the only medical provider there. Or on the nursing staff. I was liaising with general physicians, psychiatrists, social workers, occupational therapists, many different professionals. And I had acquired a high level of experience and skills through that job and know-how. I was doing a lot of the hiring. I was doing a lot of the management side of things. Well, I got burnt out at that job really badly, and I needed a new job. And so in looking at it, I found a new job at a medical clinic. Huzzah! And I applied and got the job. Easy peasy. But when I got to the job, I carried with it a lot of the pride that I had from my previous position, which was not good. And when I went to this new job, I started to kind of throw my weight around. I started telling people what to do. I wasn't listening to anybody because, again, I knew what to do. I knew what was wrong with this organization. I knew how to fix it. I knew everything, the intricates, the insides and outs, which was not true in any way, shape, or form. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I had a lot of pride and I had a lot of hubris. And on top of that, because I felt like I knew it all, I wasn't listening to my colleagues and my coworkers. I didn't pay attention to what they were telling me, and I thought I knew better. And when it came to them trying to teach me things, I would blatantly ignore it because, again, I already knew this stuff. I didn't need them teaching me it. And what ended up happening is I bred huge amounts of resentment towards me, huge amounts of disrespect, and just huge amounts of just anger, to the point that the work environment became very toxic. Upon review, and it wasn't until I started looking for a new job that I realized what I had done and the mistakes that I had made. And I took the time to learn from my mistakes, and I took the time to understand where I went wrong. And then when I found a new job and I applied for that, I took those lessons with me. And when I started this new position, I put my pride and I put all my education and all my hubris, and I just threw it in the garbage. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pretend as if I'm a new nurse that doesn't know anything, and I want you to teach me. And what I found was by just allowing them to teach me, by just listening to the people that I was working with, by just respecting their knowledge and expertise, I ended up slowly, very, very slowly, building up a lot of personal respect. And I didn't tell people what I knew. I didn't tell people that I saved lives and that I've worked with overdoses and I've done all this shit. I just showed them that I knew it. If there was a medical emergency, I would just be there and I would just help out. And if I noticed that a coworker or a colleague was struggling leading maybe a group or a seminar, I would just help them out. I wouldn't tell them that I knew how to do it. I would just offer my expertise. I would offer to kind of help them work their way through that. And they would take me up on it, and they would just see that I knew what I was talking about. They would see my expertise. They would see what I was doing. And what I noticed is just by doing all of that, I bred huge amounts of personal respect to the point that people were coming to talk to me about questions or concerns. They were listening to me. They weren't arguing with me. Conflicts were so much easier just to navigate and deal with. And I started building up a really positive reputation. So when it comes back to it, there's two types of respect. There's positional respect, which you will automatically get based on your title or the position that you have. And that's all well and fine. But we as leaders need to breed personal respect. And we need to do that by putting our egos, by putting our education, by putting our pride at the door, going in at very humble. We need to start listening to the people around us. We need to start building rapport from them, and we need to start leaning on their expertise. So with that ends our next episode, and I hope to see you, ladies and gentlemen, at the next show. Cheers. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, give it a like, and share it with a friend. And if you're ready to take the next leap and improve your leadership skills, head over to www.seedingthelead.com and book your free coaching session today.